Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family,
Welcome back.
and I hope everybody is staying warm and safe out there. I know a lot of our family members are in Texas and, in the South, which is usually, pretty warm. But man, it is wickedly cold out there.
Yes, and we are keeping our minds on you guys, sending you guys energy out there that are cold when you don't know what's going on. We're kind of concerned over where we're at too, but watching you guys, yeah, I'm sending you a lot of energy.
Yeah, the snow's piling up for us too. And it is, I think, in the around 20, which is warm for,
Yeah.
compared to what some people are getting. But we do see that the outages are still continuing. There's 4.4 million people in Texas without power. We do see that over in New Mexico now. You got almost 38,000 without power. Close to 100,000 in Oklahoma without power. In Kansas, 30,000. Arkansas, 35,000. Louisiana, 129,000. There's a channel that we started watching, some homesteaders in Louisiana, and I do think they're probably in the middle, like around Alexandria or so. And, they weren't used to this. They were just like incredulous over what they were seeing. Thankfully, their plants in the greenhouse survived. Now, another one that we follow in Arkansas, Roots and Refuge, we've given you guys the link to that one. Now, her plants didn't look good inside the greenhouse. They were looking like they were not going to make it. Snow everywhere in the deep south. Here you got Mississippi, 35,000 without power. Alabama, 11,000. And over in Virginia, we got 75,000, 13,000 in North Carolina, 102,000 in West Virginia. Kentucky, 148,000. As we see, this is spreading. And unfortunately, there's a second storm system that's going to be coming in as well. And 227,000, almost 228 in Oregon. New York State now has some outages coming as well. The cold is absolutely brutal. And, it has turned deadly as well. There was one mother and her child that were trying to stay warm in their car, more than likely in the garage, and then died of carbon monoxide poisoning. People are resorting to going into their cars to have some heat. We've talked about this for years now, saying, what would you do if the grid goes out? What would you do if the power goes out? And you're in a place, that does get cold. Now, these numbers are record breaking, absolutely. But then we've also talked about this, being the grand solar minimum, and then there is technology out there as well. And look at those numbers in Kansas. That is brutal, absolutely life-threatening. When the power is out, you can't survive too long. And we've seen people that are saying, hey, it's 2 degrees now inside the house.
Yeah, I know, a lot of this going on. And this is really hurting as a collective too, because as Mike is talking and looking at the map, my heart is like literally aching. So there's a lot of people out there who are in a lot of pain. And I know this is a difficult time, but I do encourage you to find the gratitude in the little things right now. Find the happiness in the smallest things possible, because that's what's going to help pull us through.
So, it's not even just the fact that the power is going out in so many places. You have, widespread cell phone service being disruptive. You had water as well. People not only are not going to have power, they're not going to have water in some cases. A lot of these houses are probably not geared for these type of temperatures, and you're going to end up with all sorts of problems, busted pipes as well. This is just like I was saying to Cindy. It's so reminiscent in some ways of the day after tomorrow. What we're seeing going on.
It really is. Watching this is kind of like surreal.
It's absolutely surreal. And we had a message from David Devine, Adapt 2030 this morning. And because we've talked about all this so much, and yet it's still perplexing how so many people just don't, they're not prepared at all, and didn't have a clue, didn't see it coming. The severity of this is more than even, like David and we were talking about it. I think even the people that are very, very aware of what's going on are hit by just how absolutely crazily intense this is.
Yeah, they really are. This is something that feels like it was they did something and it worked better than they thought. That's what I'm getting with this vibration. This is a technology and it was a test and it's widespread and this is what we have.
Yeah, and so, in Abilene, Texas, because of the power outages, there was no running water in the city, and that's like 124,000 people. I think that's one of the places that our friend, that's the doctor, works, and thankfully she's okay at the moment. And as we were saying, the ER was shut down. I mean, this is just incredible.
It really is. It's unprecedented. It's surreal. It's so many things that are just jaw dropping.
Yeah, in Austin, Texas, 582 broken water pipe calls, just in a matter of hours. This is what we're talking about. It's incredible, really, what we have going on. Of course, the National Guard's helping out. Again, let's send our prayers, our love, and best intentions for everybody that's suffering in these times. So this is a wearable blanket, and I just wanted to share this with you. So we got 4, where we bought 2 for each of us, just in case. This was our Christmas present to each other. These things are amazing. I mean, you could have nothing on under this and be in, the teens, and you'll be warm. It's amazing. So, like we have been staying, even if the power did go out, I think we'd be okay just because we'd be able to bundle up so much. Layer. Again, you want to layer. Like, right now I have 2 shirts on because, where we stay, we will drop into the 50s inside, and we're just used to it now. But if you layer, you'll be fine.
Oh yeah, definitely. People are coming up with all kind of creative ways to stay warm. And this is one of them. These things are really, really good. They're excellent. And there's a jacket Mike gave me that's made for like 20 below, and it's comparable to that jacket. It's really awesome.
Yeah, and it's even more comfortable too.
Yes.
I mean, it's just you don't mind wearing this because it's so kind of baggy and comfy and soft, and keeps you amazingly warm. There are some people that have been figuring out, you got to save heat. So you could actually put up a tent and inside the house, if you have a tent, and then stay in that to, stay warm. And, all this sounds like crazy severe, but, that's where we're at. I mean, people are in a life-threatening situation right now. So obviously, body heat, huddled together, bring the dogs and the kitties in.
Yeah.
You could do that. Remember, like when your kids used to make these play tents and put blankets up and things like that?
That was so fun. So even though this is like a dire situation, we can make it a family fun thing and just, again, find the gratitude in the small things. Look for the small things. That's really going to help pull us through.
Again, be aware of carbon monoxide poisoning. That's a real killer, quiet killer. So, if you're going out in the garage and trying to stay warm, getting in the car and running the engine, that's a real thing to be aware of. You don't want to, die that way either. You don't want to die anyway. As we're looking at now, these are all these dots are record low temps that are coming in, and you're just going to see them just like boom, boom, boom. I mean, it's incredible. It really does feel very much like the day after tomorrow scenario that we saw in that movie.
Yeah, it does for sure.
So yeah, there's another storm that's heading, and it's going to be slamming the south as well.
And we have probably more after that. We just don't really see a solid end to this.
No, it's, well, again, thank you guys so much for putting your prayers out there for everyone. It's This is unprecedented, and it's a word we've used a lot.
Yes, and it's getting overused, but it's appropriate.
Yeah, 70.4% of the lower 48 states are covered by snow. That's the highest level in a decade. And yeah, the South is digging out, as I was sharing with you guys about these homestead channels that we follow, and they're buried. And these are people that, have put the time into it. They've constructed greenhouses, and it shows you just how tenuous things can be. And even these people that have years of experience, are still experiencing losing just about everything. Now, can you imagine if the supply was not there? Like, where are we going to be in another year or another 2 years with the food situation?
I know we got to think about as much as possible and, do as much as possible to keep ourselves in a situation where we're self-sustaining.
Yeah, and I go back to that movie again as we're looking at Galveston, all covered in ice and snow, Galveston, Texas, on the beach, right? And thinking about how in that movie, people were just climbing over the wall, getting into Mexico.
Yeah.
And it always hit me that, yeah, we're going to see that. We're going to see that at some point. People are going to be heading south, just any way they can, heading south. As we have millions of Texans left without heat overnight. This is a nightmare situation. Absolutely.
It really is, you guys. This is very serious.
And so, we got natural gas shortages. Obviously, we have, quote unquote, rolling blackouts. And then we're going to have disrupted cell service. We're going to have power bills that are going to go through the roof when people see that after they are trying to, clean up and perhaps, assessing how many water pipes have been broken.
Yeah. And then they were saying, people need to boil their water, but how do you do that if you don't have any power anyway?
Well, again, then you got to start a fire. So it's having that redundancy, and in a worst case scenario, like, we do have a fire pit out there. We'd have to clear the snow off of it, but there is wood too. And so, at the same time, we could get a fire going outdoors. It would be very, very brisk out there.
Yep.
Skyscrapers lit up in downtown spark outrage amid the power outages as people were looking in the background, seeing all the skyscrapers lit up, and meanwhile, they're freezing to death in their homes. And people have lost their lives in this, due to the cold, as well as due to carbon monoxide poisoning. You see North Texas man living in his car due to hours without power to his home. There's many people doing that now. Many. And, if you guys have ever gone through Dallas-Fort Worth, there's a heck of a lot of people living there. It's a ton of people. It's one of the more, population-dense areas in the country. And, think about all these people that are now in, absolutely brutal temperatures.
Well, yeah, and then if they are living in their cars to stay warm and the power outages, how do you get gas if there's no power for the pumps?
Yeah, and there you go, in the car trying to stay warm. It is super, super dangerous. Absolutely. And the thing that David said this morning, David Devine, Adapt 2030, he said, this is global. This is global. Yeah, we're focused on the U.S., but this is global. As you see the Acropolis, blanketed in rare snow. This is over in Greece. And, we talked about Russia as well. We've talked about all over, how these records are falling.
They really are, and that's what we have to look at this. This is a global thing, and really nobody's getting off easy.
Retailers trade Fifth Avenue for Worth Avenue as Palm Beach scene thrives with Americans heading south. So a lot of people are going into Florida. Florida is packing up, and Cindy's worried that everybody's going to go to Florida, and then there will be something that happens there when everybody is packed in like sardines, because this is the only place that's staying warm. But there's other things going on too. There's many areas of the country where people didn't like how things were handled, with things getting so shut down. And, Florida didn't get that shut down. So there's a lot of people that were heading or wanting to head to Florida or Texas or some of the other states more for political reasons as well as business reasons, and now we just add in the fact that this is the only place that's warm. So things are pretty good over there in the Sunshine State, as while the rest of the country freezes. Florida's sunny beaches are over flooding with crowds. Massive historic winter storm swept through the U.S. on Monday, and all the tourists are heading down to Florida, where it's still in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah, I just can't bring myself to trust. I think, boy, what a nice magnetic offer what Florida's offering right now to pull people in, and then boom, something happens and they can trap them like sardines.
Yeah, that's her intuition going. Again, there is the line of thought with some people that have followed, Valentina Zarkova and the Grand Solar Minimum, that at some point in time you're going to have to be in the tropics, between the two tropics, to be somewhere that's going to be sustainable. And, that would obviously pile a lot of people into a very, very small area. And so the world's going to pay a lot more for meat as food inflation deepens. That's all going up, and it's going to keep going up. And think about the impact again that's going on right now with these storms.
Oh, yeah, there's just so much going on. It's like layers and layers and layers of issues here.
And we had talked about the volcanoes coming online, which will, when we get some big eruptions, especially down around the equator, that's going to rapidly cool things off even more. And so forced evacuation of communities near Taal volcano in the Philippines. So they're evacuating people from there now because of increased activity. And we were talking about, the activity picking up. Unusual, very large landslide, and this is in Ecuador. Landslides everywhere. David was touching on that as well. And now I think, it's got to hit people that there are major things going on here. We are not in normal times anymore.
No, and I was thinking when they were showing all those landslides a week or so ago, that there was another underlying thing going on with the planet at a planetary level. And it's like she's, kind of crying out saying, okay, there's something wrong here. Something needs to change.
Yeah, again, the system is not one that's benevolent to anything on the planet. It's basically been a system that just basically uses, abuses, and rapes the planet, and doesn't have any respect for the fact that this is a living entity, and there's so many different beings on it, dependent on it, and we're seeing such mass die-offs of birds, of fish, of everything. It's really, really sad. The system that's in place on this planet has to go. It has to change. And our consciousness has to change as well, because our consciousness has a huge impact on what happens on the planet.
Oh, it really, really does, yeah.
So, guys, we want to thank you for your support on Ko-Fi and Patreon. Make sure you are subscribed and click the bell so you get notifications. Stay prepared out there. As always, we want to stay prepared. It does no good to stick our head in the sand, as we can see. This is reason why we've been saying have a backup to the backup. Yeah. Do you have a wood-burning stove? Do you have a fireplace? Things like that. Be prepared, as always. God bless and namaste.
God bless and namaste.